I met my husband in the most ridiculous, unexpected way possible. I was 25, working as a personal assistant to my best friend, Jewel. Jewel was 26 and already running her father's company like a seasoned executive. She had taken over the business earlier than anyone expected, and the job consumed almost every waking moment of her life. Meetings, contracts, investors, flights. Her calendar looked like a war plan. Because of that, she had almost no social life, which worried her parents terribly. They were convinced their daughter was working herself into loneliness, so every few weeks they would set her up on another blind date with the son of some wealthy family friend. Jewel hated blind dates, absolutely hated them. But instead of refusing outright and starting another argument with her parents, she came up with a brilliant system. We would stalk the guy online. His Instagram, LinkedIn, old interviews, tagged photos, everything. Then we would find out exactly what kind of woman he liked. And then she would send me. My job was simple. Show up pretending to be her, behave like the complete opposite of his ideal type, and make sure he walked away thinking Jewel was absolutely not his kind of woman. It worked every time. One guy loved quiet, elegant women with refined taste, so I showed up chewing gum loudly, ordered wings, and licked barbecue sauce off my fingers while discussing conspiracy theories about aliens running Wall Street. Another guy said he admired intellectual women who loved philosophy. So I spent the entire dinner asking if philosophy was the study of dolphins. Needless to say, the dates never lasted longer than an hour. Jewel's parents thought the men were the problem. We knew the truth. Then came Cameron. Apparently, Cameron was the young heir to a very large company. His family was extremely wealthy, extremely respected, and, according to Jewel's mother, perfect husband material. So of course, we did our research. From what we found online, Cameron seemed very polished, proper, traditional. His posts were full of charity galas, business conferences, and family dinners. From a random interview clip we found online, he once said he liked women who were graceful, calm, and elegant, which was exactly Jewel. See? I told her, pointing at the screen. This one actually matches you. But Jewel barely looked up from her laptop. I don't have time for this, she said, already typing another email. You know the plan. So once again, I was sent into battle. I had a strategy ready. Messy hair, loud personality, absolutely no table manners. If Cameron wanted grace and elegance, I was about to give him the complete opposite. When I arrived at the restaurant, I immediately spotted a man already seated at the reserved table. Except, it wasn't Cameron, at least not the Cameron I had memorized from social media. This man looked at me with the same confusion I was feeling, but he stood up anyway. Hi, he said. I'm Cameron Blackwood. I blinked. Something felt off, but I decided to go with it. Hi, I said brightly as I slid into the seat. Nice to meet you. Then I began phase 1 of Operation Disaster. I ordered the biggest burger on the menu and immediately started eating it with my hands, ketchup dripping everywhere. I talked loudly, interrupted the waiter twice, and when the bread basket arrived, I grabbed 3 pieces like I hadn't eaten in days. At one point, I leaned back in my chair and said loudly, I always wonder why fancy restaurants serve food this tiny. What about people like us who actually want to eat like normal human beings? Out of the corner of my eye, I waited for him to look horrified. Instead, he picked up a bread roll, tore into it like it had personally offended him, and said, Honestly, I've always wondered the same thing. Then he ordered the most expensive steak on the menu and asked for extra sauce. The man wiped his mouth with the table napkin like a barbarian and asked, Do you mind if I order dessert first? I stared at him. He stared back. This was not how this was supposed to go. So I tried again. I slurped my drink loudly through the straw. He did it louder. I leaned my elbows on the table. He leaned both arms across the table like he owned the place. At one point I even said, I think table manners are overrated. He nodded seriously. Extremely overrated. That was when it hit me. The realization came so suddenly I nearly choked on my fries. I leaned forward slowly. You're not Cameron, I said. He squinted at me. You're not Jewel. We stared at each other for about 2 seconds. Then we both burst out laughing. Not polite laughter, the kind that makes people turn their heads in a quiet restaurant. When we finally managed to calm down, he held out his hand. Drake, he said. Cameron's best friend. I shook it. Jewel's personal assistant, I replied. Turns out Cameron had begged Drake to go on the date for him because he was too busy running his company and had zero interest in blind dates arranged by his parents. Drake had agreed, with one mission: scare the girl off. When I explained that Jewel had sent me for the exact same reason, we both started laughing all over again. Well, Drake said, leaning back in his chair, since the truth is out. I smiled and pulled a card out of my purse. My boss's credit card. His eyebrows shot up. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and placed another card on the table. Cameron's. We looked at each other. Then we both grinned. That night turned into the most chaotic, wonderful date of my life. We ordered ridiculously expensive food, wine, desserts. Then we left the restaurant and went to an arcade because we both loved Star Wars. We spent nearly an hour competing on every game machine we could find. After that, we went to a late-night concert for one of our favorite artists. Somewhere around midnight, we were sitting on the hood of his car, laughing about everything. That was when I realized I hadn't checked my phone in hours. When I finally did, Jewel had called me 12 times. I ignored it. I was having the time of my life. After that night, Drake and I became inseparable. Coffee dates turned into daily phone calls. Phone calls turned into weekend trips. And before I even realized what was happening, I was completely, hopelessly in love. 6 months later, we got married. But the real twist? That happened on our wedding day. Because that was the first time Cameron and Jewel actually met each other in person. Within 30 minutes, they were sitting together discussing business strategies, tech innovations, and their shared love for obscure science fiction books. Two workaholic nerds bonding instantly. By the end of the night, they had exchanged numbers. They've been dating ever since, and if everything goes the way it looks like it will, they'll probably be the next wedding we attend. Funny how life works. The man I was supposed to scare away became my husband, and the blind date that never happened might still end in marriage anyway.